Good evening. This is my second open mic. Last time I had come here and recited a poem I had written. This time I saw the list and I saw a lot of poems and poets. So I thought I'll do something which is very personal to me. So I'm going to try and do something which I haven't done on stage in quite some time. So this is going to be storytelling. And this story is about a little boy. Okay. Just like all of us, this little boy was born. We all live in a lot of confusion. Our lives are confused. But this little boy was born in confusion. Because if you ask anybody, they would say that they wouldn't know how they were born. We were told how we were born. People tell us, okay, this is how we were born. So this little boy was told that he literally walked out onto earth because his legs came out first. The doctors dragged him out. So he was happy. Yeah, at least I touched the ground first. And that was the first sign of confidence he had. No, I'm going to walk the earth. And that's where his story began. But where it took a nasty turn when he started realizing the world was, he always thought that, we are all introduced to two people first time in our lives. Dad, mom. And these are people we look up to. These are people we look for love. But unfortunately, his dad wasn't anything close to what we can call love. He never understood how to express love. For that person, love was seriousness. Love was aggression. But no abusive words. But there was a lot of aggression. So when the boy started growing up, he started understanding the world in different colors, in different shades. But one thing he understood about his father was, he seldom smiled. And when he smiled, that was an occasion. It was called for celebration. So he looked up to that moment when he smiled. And we all have siblings. So I think our mothers have this habit of talking about two kids to everyone. So the little boy realized that his mother also had a particular reel that she runs to people who come. So his brother was more than 5 years older to him. So the reel that his mom always ran was that, look at my eldest son. You ask him to sit somewhere with his hands folded, he will sit there. But look at the younger one. That's the little boy. He would pop up in 10 different places. So the little boy realized that, okay, I'm very different. I think the world is like that. World, everybody would sit in one place. Everybody would listen to what everybody would say. But I'm not like that. I'm going to pop up in different places. But what was the result of that? I just told you about the dad. Now the dad was into social work. He was a government servant. And there was a lot of issues at work. So he would come back. And right from a very young age, 3 years old, the little boy bore the brunt of his anger. And whatever he got in his hand, the little boy got beaten with it. Mostly, he understood how the branch of a hibiscus plant felt like. The thickness of the branch, he used to beat the little boy with it until it became splinters. And somehow, he was confused. So he felt that, the little boy felt that nobody understood him. He was trying to cry out. He was trying to say, please listen to me for once. I want to know why I'm getting beaten. But our Indian parents are different. They never explain. They will just beat you. It's like they're right. Bacha hai, so you have to get beaten. And at the age of 6, the little boy did try to run away from home because there was one day he couldn't take the beating anymore. The dad dragged him back, put him under the shower, beat him again, and told him, you are under the shower so that your tears are not seen. And that is how he grew up. And during his teenage years, he had 3 experiences with homosexuals. Very bad. He grew up like that. But again, because he felt that nobody understood him, he didn't share with anybody. And that was his life. But there was one thing. We all like something. The little boy liked a particular food. And there was a story behind that too. The little boy liked gyros. And the story was that he came from a very lower middle class family, trying to make ends meet. So whenever he got good marks, that was a time his dad acted like a dad. He would take him to the nearest hotel and get him a gyros. So gyros became his go-to food because that had the memories of a loving father. So for him, the gyros exemplified what his father was. He grew up again. Teenage happened. Youth happened. And his father was his, like I said, social worker. He was into politics. So he also realized that, yeah, that is something that I could really get into. So he became a student leader. And that student leader realized that because they were in two different political ideologies, that was the only way he could communicate with his father. And those discussions were something he looked forward to. And over the years, he grew further. And there was hardly any communication between his father and him. And then Corona happened. And when Corona happened, his father fell sick. And in the last 2 years, he hasn't got up from his bed. He contracted dementia. And while all these 40 years, the little boy was trying to understand why his father never understood him, now nobody understands his father. And he's trying to say a lot of things, but nobody makes sense of what he says. So this little boy is now going back after a week to his father because his father is calling for him. So it is very painful to know that I spent my life trying to understand why my father never understood me. And now I am going back.